welcome you absolute rad lads. It's me, Rad. The Fallout Season 2 trailer dropped, and I reacted to that, but in the meantime there have been a lot of different theories, some good, some pretty terrible if I say so myself, and I wanted to go over some of my favorites and some of my least favorites here because there's some really juicy stuff. Alright, the first one I want to talk about, because it is actually my favorite of them all, has to do with who is going to be playing this apparently new Kaiser or Caesar in the second season. Well, it looks like it's been kind of solved. We don't know who the character will be in the actual TV show, but we know the actor, and that is because some superhuman compared Macaulay Culkin of Home Alone fame that was said a while ago to be in the second season of Fallout. There was a lot of speculation. People really glommed onto the idea of him being Mr. Fantastic. That would be funny. I'm not completely sold on it, but when somebody compared the back of the head of Macaulay Culkin to this Caesar, it is extremely convincing, and that is mostly because of the ear shape. Macaulay Culkin has kind of some interesting looking ears, and if it weren't for kind of this strange shape, I don't think we would have been able to make such a definitive answer. But as soon as I saw it, I was convinced. I'm looking at it and it looks almost exactly, especially that right ear. It kind of flares out a little bit. To me, it was a no-brainer, and it seems to have been confirmed in a way because Macaulay Culkin on his Instagram, I think this is, put up as one of his pictures that exact screenshot, as if to say, this is me. Why else would he be putting it up there? Maybe he just really wants to troll everybody, but those ears don't lie. Okay, my second favorite theory that has spawned from all of this is that the ghoul is going to New Vegas for one important person. And that person wants you to assume the position. Okay, this one's kind of a joke, but I thought it was hilarious to think that the ghoul would go all this way just for Fisto. My real number two is something we saw glimpses of, but it wasn't until they released a separate photo that wasn't in the trailer of Norm standing in front of a bunch of people in Vault 31 uniforms that I really became intrigued. So we know Norm is stuck in Vault 31, which seems to be where all these managers and middle managers that Bud has cryogenically frozen are being kept, and they're thawed out as they're needed by Bud. When Norm stumbles upon this and figures out this entire plan, he is actually told that he can't go back, that he is stuck in Vault 31, and that he should probably get inside a cryogenic tube and freeze himself so that he doesn't have to just, I don't know, wait around for who knows how many years before he gets a chance to leave Vault 31. While that didn't really seem like a thing Norm would do, it wasn't until I saw that picture of him standing in front of Vault 31ers in conjunction with seeing a bunch of people in Vault 31 uniforms running away from rad roaches that it all kind of clicked. And it seems like somehow Norm figures out how to release everybody from their cryogenic tubes in Vault 31, and it almost looks like he's able to assume some sort of leadership position. Now, I don't know how to tie this in with the rad roach attack scenes that we saw. Those scenes don't even necessarily look like they're in a vault, rather some sort of office building, but I definitely think Norm is going to be releasing all of these Vault 31ers and maybe perhaps leading them or assuming some sort of influential or leadership position. Alright, number three has to do with the Brotherhood of Steel, and especially that scene where we see multiple Brotherhood airships. That was a pretty big deal. We haven't seen that many Brotherhood airships since Fallout Tactics. In the trailer we see a lot of them together, and one of them is pulling a Hindenburg and falling straight to the earth and blowing up. This, plus some of what was said in the first season, kind of makes it seem like there may be some sort of conflict within the Brotherhood itself, especially if we're seeing a large contingent from the East, for example, under Elder Maxon, coming to aid the Brotherhood in the West. And if there's a large cultural divide, which there seems to be based on what we see of the West Coast Brotherhood in the TV show and what we know about the East Coast Brotherhood from Fallout 4, that plus a different vision for the Brotherhood could result in some sort of civil war. You have to think about what factions would have the firepower to be able to bring down one of these airships. And, well, the Brotherhood has enough firepower to bring down one of its own airships, hence this theory. Alright, one of my favorite theories, number 4, is that Myron from Fallout 2 becomes the quack doctor chicken from the first season of Fallout. Okay, this one was another joke. I just saw it and thought it was really funny. Canonically, Myron does die after the events of Fallout 2. He gets killed by a jet junkie as some sort of cosmic karma or something like that. However, it is kind of funny to think about what Myron would have done if he hadn't been killed by a junkie. Obviously, there is way too much time in between the ending of Fallout 2, which would have been around 2242, and when the Fallout TV show takes place, which is now all the way up into the 2290s. Man, we are getting far down the timeline. My real number 5 has to do with that shot of Lucy at the end, where you see her with a rifle firing in slow motion, which looks like VATS or some sort of kill cam, which we are very accustomed to in these later Fallout games. However, it wasn't the kill cam or the VATS or slow motion shot that we saw. Rather, it was the rifle that she was holding, which was a radium rifle. I saw some eager people, especially in my Discord, postulating that perhaps this means that the children of Adam will make some sort of appearance, cameo, have some sort of mention. While I think that's cool, I don't think it's gonna happen. If anything, I think they just thought that the radium rifle was cool looking, kind of fit the Fallout aesthetic, so they mocked it up and they're gonna give it to Lucy to use for a little bit. We'll have to see if they even mention the fact that it irradiates targets when it hits them. We'll just have to be on the lookout for any telltale signs that they included that part of the radium rifle, which is really what sets it apart in the Fallout universe. Now I have some theories that I don't like, and that's either because I think they're not that great, they don't make sense, or they're not very likely. First one has to do with flashes of a pilot that we see in a vertibird. He and Maxon are seen celebrating together and everything, and some people looked at that pilot, looked at the coat he was wearing, and thought that it could be Arthur Maxon, the elder from the East Coast. And now, look, would I want to see Arthur Maxon? I have absolutely no problem with that. It would be pretty cool. However, what we see from this pilot just doesn't make sense, other than the fact that he has this coat that kind of looks like Arthur Maxon from Fallout 4, and he's a white guy. I don't know. The hair is totally off. The demeanor is totally different. We don't even actually know if Arthur Maxon can fly a vertibird. I just think it's too much of a stretch for this to actually be Arthur Maxon, and he would need to have a completely different personality from what we saw in Fallout 4, where that guy is serious. Like, kill your best soldier because you find out he's a synth kind of serious. Okay, the second one is kind of related to that one, and it's not that mystery pilot is Arthur Maxon, but rather Nate, the protagonist from Fallout 4, who you likely played as when you played the game. Again, why? I mean, you squint and they look kind of similar, I guess. I really, really doubt we will see anything from a protagonist, whether it be from New Vegas, so Courier 6, or Fallout 4, make an appearance in these TV shows. I just don't think that's a place that Bethesda and the show creators really want to go with this. Plus, there's not really anything to say that that is Nate other than, again, they kind of look similar. Okay, this one has to do with what it will become a very important character in the series, and that is Mr. House. Mr. House has been recast. There is a totally different actor playing him, and this has caused some theories that the original Mr. House, or the actor that played Mr. House that we saw in the first season, is actually someone different. There are theories out there floating around that he's some sort of double, that he went to this meeting with Vault Tech as some sort of safety precaution. I guess that some people thought that House might do this if he was suspicious of this meeting or of Vault Tech, or if he was just really paranoid about his own safety. The other thing I've seen floated around is that he's not a body double, but rather he is Mr. House's son. And again, I don't see it. I don't believe it. I don't think that's the way it is. I think it's a simple recast. That's really what I think it is. And whether that's because of boring reasons like scheduling conflicts between actors, or the showrunners accepting some constructive criticism from the fan base who thought that the Mr. House we saw was too young and also sounded nothing like what we hear in New Vegas. Both of these things have been alleviated. You can't say that this new actor for Mr. House doesn't look like him. He looks age appropriate. His physical looks and his demeanor seem to match the House that we know from New Vegas very well. And when you hear him talk, it sounds so much closer to what we know from Fallout New Vegas. So I think it's just a simple actor recast. Whether, again, like I said, mundane reasons or because the showrunners wanted someone a little more housey. And the very last one, there is a love it and a hate it component to it, but we see a Brotherhood airship over a hangar that says Area 51 on it. Now, Area 51 is super interesting, of course, and there's been some talk amongst fans about why we don't see Area 51 in Fallout New Vegas. It kind of seems like an obvious location to have, even just as a DLC. So I think it is very cool to see Area 51 show up. However, some people have theorized that we will see some sort of confirmation or maybe even on-screen presence of aliens, of Zayton aliens. And I have to say, if they do that, that is jumping the shark. There is a lot that goes on in the Fallout universe, and I think bringing aliens into it would just be too much. So that is why I have it here. I love the inclusion of Area 51. I don't want to see aliens. Okay, this last one's just a bonus because I thought it was so funny. Got a good laugh out of me. And it's the comparison of these two tweets, I'm guessing these are. Sorry guys, I don't really do social media. But it was called The Duality of Man. And we see up top, one person representative of a certain portion of the Fallout fan base. Bro, this is going to make the worst part of the fandom more obnoxious. Please be a flashback. Okay, we know it's not going to be because we see Lucy with some Legion soldiers. And then we see that exact same screenshot from somebody else that just says in all caps, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And look, I get it. A certain part of the fan base seems to espouse the whole Legion never does anything wrong type of rhetoric, but you don't have to be one of those guys to be excited to see the Legion. They could make a really interesting and intense on-screen presence. And yeah, you know, having some football pad wearing Roman LARPers running around in a 1950s post-apocalyptic Vegas desert is pretty weird. But you know what? They did it really well in the games, and I think they can do it really well in the TV show. All right, that's all I had for those myths, but I did want to include a little something here at the very end. Behind me, there are several things, mostly Fallout related, but I'm going to be switching out some of these things every so often because I'll put little teasers out there about things that either I'm doing or things that I enjoy. Right now, there is a paintball mask back there because I really love paintball. That's one of my favorite things. And of course, my ROG Ally, because I'm actually a really big fan of handhelds. I work all day at a desk at the same computer, so when it comes time to play a game, being in the same place where I am all day just doesn't sound appealing. So it's nice to be able to pick up a handheld and just go onto a couch or go in the bed or go wherever I want and play my games. And I think that's really cool. So I'm a big fan of handhelds. Pay attention to what you see behind me. Things will change. I might talk about it a little bit so you can get to know me a little bit better. Anyway, that's all I got for you right now. Rad out.